So, theologically speaking,
Hello, and welcome to Theologically Speaking. I'm Kyle Leon Henderson.
and I'm Father Ian Elliott Davis.
Here we are. We're in the middle of Advent.
It's freezing cold outside.
I got here you had a
The
fire.
log fire is
You
going.
had a log fire built in the fireplace.
Yes.
Just like a proper English or
Yeah.
Welsh Christmas. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm so
Yes.
sorry. So yeah, our topic today is Christmas.
Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
My least favourite season of the year, bar humbug. No, I enjoy Christmas, actually. I do.
So we're not necessarily just talking about the day of Christmas. We're talking about the church calendar Christmas.
Right.
So it does start on the 25th, correct?
Right, yes, it does. Well, Christmas Eve is the vigil of Christmas Day, and so hence we have midnight mass on Christmas Eve. The season of Advent that we're in at the moment is the lead up to Christmas, and Christmas Day itself occurs, and then that's when the Christmas season, the season of the Incarnation, really comes alive, and it's celebratory. Everything changes, the colours.
And what are the colors?
Well, it changes from violet for Advent, or in some churches they have blue, but that's what's called the old Sarum rite.
What's Sarum?
Sarum is Salisbury, which is a cathedral in the southwest of England. Not far from Wales, very, very beautiful cathedral. And the old Sarum rite is the medieval rite that was used before the Reformation by the English and some of the Welsh as well.
And what's the colors changed to in Christmas?
The colours change from violet or blue, as I say in Sarum, to gold or white to celebrate the birth of the child.
And just for the sake of asking, just because there's so much to learn in it all, Christmas, the whole point, nothing but the one point, the birth of Jesus.
The birth of Jesus, the Word made flesh, God, the Son, becomes incarnate as a human babe with every facet that every babe has, vulnerable, squealing, cold, shivering, everything that is attendant upon babies that are born every day. But the miracle is, this is the Word of God, the Logos, the Son of God incarnate. So in the Creed you'll notice that we start to bow at "and was incarnate by the Holy Ghost and the Virgin Mary and was made man." And we always bow, and at Christmas we actually genuflect. We get down on one knee when we get to those words. So, yeah.
I wrote down a note, 12 days of Christian
Christmas.
12 days of Christmas, question mark.
Yes.
So what I know that the 12 days of Christmas, I know the song. I actually was singing it last night with my partner Ethan. I was trying to remember what.
How is Ethan now? Is his hearing improved?
He was rushing me through the song. He's like, get to it. Because when you start singing the 12 days of Christmas, you realize this is a long song.
There's the 5 gold rings. 5 gold rings.
Yes,
that's as far
I
as
got
we
stumped up on the 9 ladies dancing, the 10 lords a leaping,
11
11 pipers piping. 12 drummers drumming,
12 drummers drumming.
Yeah, is that right?
It could be. I can't remember.
Well, anyway, so I guess the first question is: does that song have anything to do with the
12 days of
12
Christmas?
days of Christmas? Or are they
I
just
think
picking
it
out
does.
fancy gifts? Like,
I think it does.
that's a lot of that's a to give someone 10 Lords of Leaping or whatever, that's a big gift.
I'll
but-
be completely frank and honest with you. This is what I know, that feast days in the church have octaves, what we call octaves, or at least we used to
Octave
keep
meaning 8, like in music.
8. So it's the 8 days that follow on from a feast day. So there's the octave of All Saints, for example, which is the 8 days after All Saints' Day. You can keep any of the festal kind of activities that you want during that 8-day period. That's the octave. And Christmas, maybe, this is a possibility, because it is so special in the Western Church, it gets not 8 days, but 12 days. I'm just wondering if that's what it is.
So there's really not 12 days of Christmas.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying, is that it's like a special octave. It's a 12-day octave.
So like a baker's octave.
Like a baker's octave. I think we're going to have to look this up in the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church, which I'm going to grab, but I'm going to listen. This is how live broadcasting does work, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We just look things up when we need them.
Hey. So what are you looking up?
The 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, that's actually in the dictionary.
Well, I'm hoping it is.
Well,
otherwise,
okay.
I'm scuppered, aren't I?
So while you're looking it up, I'm going to pick your brain about something.
Yeah.
If you can. Decorating for Christmas. I'm going to get a little cheeky and decorating for Christmas. Mm-hmm. The church is split. The Christmas starts on the feast, the midnight feast on Christmas Eve. So do you believe that it's appropriate to put your tree up and everything after Thanksgiving?
Or the
No! Your face.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Well, that's what my tradition was in my home
Right.
growing up. And directly after Thanksgiving, Ethan and I went to the store and bought as cheap as decorations to just deck the whole house. Because, I mean, we've talked about it. This has been a rough year.
I can't believe that you'd have anything cheap.
Oh, I do. I lost my job. I gotta preserve.
Liturgically speaking, as opposed to theologically speaking, that is totally incorrect to put up Christmas decorations at Thanksgiving. They're not meant to go up until Christmas Eve.
And then stayed
That's
up
the
for
earliest.
the baker's
and then
octave
they
of
stay
Christmas.
up for the 12 days of Christmas. Well, in fact, if I had my way, they would stay up until the Feast of Candlemas, which is the 2nd of February.
That's
and
a long
I've
time.
Found the article on.
Please do tell.
It says here, the evening preceding 12th day, the Epiphany, are the 12 days after Christmas, formerly kept as a time of merrymaking and associated with many old customs, such as the taking down of the Christmas decorations. In Herefordshire, that's a county on the border of England and the beautiful country of Wales, there was a tradition of lighting 12 bonfires representing the 12 apostles to secure a blessing on the fruits of the earth, and similar practices prevailed elsewhere. There was a 12th cake with an ornamented which was an ornamented cake made for the occasion, containing a bean or coin, the drawer of which became the drawer, the person who drew. The drawer of which became the king or queen of the festivities.
So
and there's Boxing Day as well. That's very important in Britain and
what is Boxing
Europe.
Day?
Boxing Day is the day, St. Stephen's Day, the day after Christmas Day. It's always very important to keep that day. Traditionally, the servants of the household were allowed to have the day off, and the aristocracy would serve the servants on that day. And boxes with gifts were given as well. So that's another reason for it being called Boxing Day.
So from what you've read, it seems that we have the 8 days, the octave.
We've got the octave.
But they decided to lean into symbolism and say there's 12 apostles, so we're going to be merry for 12 days.
Yes.
And that's how the tradition started.
It seems to me a very simple, straightforward explanation for what was totally mysterious before. 12 apostles, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 months of the year,
So, and there are 12 days before Epiphany.
Right, between Christmas and Epiphany.
Because
it's 12
Christmas,
days.
the 25th to...
Bless you.
Bless you.
That was the producer, director.
So, from the 25th to the 5th is the 12 merry-making days of Christmas, and then on the 6th is Epiphany.
The Feast of the Epiphany, the wise men, or the Magi, arrive at Bethlehem.
And I think we talked about this in the last episode, so it's not like something I'm breaking wide open in this episode. Right. That you told me that the Epiphany is when the Magi, the wise men, or the three kings from the east, they discovered that Christ is here.
Right.
And their discovery, we can infer that they are the ones who told everybody else.
They're the Gentiles. They're the first Gentiles to know the Christmas message, because the shepherds were Jewish, all the other people who were there at the crib were Jewish. So this was the first time, because they came from the east, the far east, the east of the Mediterranean. So they were the first Gentiles to know the message about Christ being born. And we don't know the exact time of year, or in fact how many years after the birth of the child the Epiphany takes place.
So the nativity scenes that you can buy at the Christian bookstore, they might not be accurate.
They might not. They are in fact, they are not accurate.
They didn't all come to the manger.
They didn't all come to the manger, and there were a minimum of 3, because the word used in Greek, magoi, for Magi, is a plural form, and it means at least 3.
And because what I'd heard, because, people, they love to, at least in the Protestant church that I grew up in, they love to negate the story a little bit. They're like, no, there's not 3 men. They said, we don't know how many men there were. They said there were 3 gifts. The men came carrying 3 gifts, exactly, and that's what they said. But there were at least 3.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the 3 gifts, and therefore it's assumed there were 3 wise men. But there could have been 10, there could have been 12. Who knows?
Going back to the nativity scene in the Christian bookstore that you see that we can buy, how accurate, minus the wise men? The shepherds came.
Right, the shepherds are there.
And they were they in a barn?
They were in some kind of broken down side house, because there was no room. All we know is that there is no room for them in the inn. All the world goes to be taxed, it says, during the reign of Augustus Caesar. And St. Luke's Gospel is very careful to tie down the dates, the exact time and date of the birth. And when Joseph arrives in Bethlehem from Nazareth, he's gone from Nazareth, where he works, to Bethlehem, the home of his family, because he's of the house and lineage of David, it says in the Bible. And he's taxed, enrolled in the taxes in Bethlehem. They knock on all the doors in the town, because the place is bursting at the seams, because everyone has come back home to be taxed.
So that's why there's no room at the inn, because
that's why
everybody on planet Earth is basically in Jerusalem.
Yes, it was like the General Convention of the Episcopal Church. It's like 15,000 people descend on one little village.
Well, if it weren't for all the taxes, it sounded like it would be a fun party.
Well, I think it probably was. But they have to go... The innkeeper takes pity on the Virgin.
Is it... I guess because she's huge.
She is huge.
She's huge with baby.
Yes, she's heavy with child, as they say.
It's odd. I mean, was that... Okay, this is going to get in the weeds a little bit, but I'm just curious. Was that custom that everybody had to go? Like
everybody had to go.
Like everybody had, like, they call you in, you got to pay your taxes.
Oh no, her
baby's about to fall out, and she's just like,
unusual.
put me on a horse and get me to Bethlehem.
It was fairly unusual. If you read St. Luke's Gospel, this is it's a census, so it's just once every however many years the Romans decided to have a census. And it was a Roman thing. It was not a Jewish thing. It was imposed on the Jewish population of Israel and Judah and the Holy Land as we know it.
I'm pretty excited because I just thought of a question that I've never thought to ask ever. The timing of when Jesus came. When
date or the time?
The time in the great time of God. Like at this point in history.
Salvation history. Heilsgeschichte.
What was it called?
Heilsgeschichte.
Heilsgeschichte.
Salvation history.
Salvation history. So we're Jewish. We're just living our Jewish life.
Yes.
And then God's like, I need to send my son as a savior.
Well,
what about that time?
Well, very specifically, they were waiting for a Messiah. And Messiah is simply the Jewish word for the anointed one, which in Greek is Christos, where we get the word Christ from. And hence we get Christ's Mass, Christmas. That's how we get the name of Christmas, from the Mass of Christ. But the contemporary culture at the time of the birth of Jesus, there was great anxiety, there was great longing for a Messiah, for an anointed one, to come and vindicate God's people, because they were an occupied nation. The foreigners had come and occupied the seat of government, so they'd been taken over. Jerusalem was run by the Romans, and there were, at that time, lots of different individuals who claimed to be messiahs or prophets. John the Baptist is the last of the prophetic line, we believe, in the Christian church. He's just one example of many, many other itinerant preachers and teachers and healers and exorcists.
I guess what I'm thinking of, and that does sort of explain it, but like Noah and the flood. Jesus saw that the world was, or not Jesus, God saw that the world was just full of sin. So I've got to send a flood to, it's time. They're just too sinful. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to destroy everything except for Noah and his family because they're righteous. What was it about this exact time that made God decide, or is that something we just can't know?
I think that's something we can't know, to be frank. Theologically speaking, that's the will of God and the heart of God, the mind of God, and that's something that we can only grasp at.
And I guess we do get that confirmation in Revelation, in the fact that even Jesus himself does not know when he will come back, only God.
Oh, the second coming.
The second coming.
Right.
So that's just God's MO. He's not going to tell you.
Right. Yes. So. The second coming is something that's a very complex and very difficult area to understand. And it's not helped by the fundamentalists who have the whole kind of idea of the rapture, and that the second coming is going to be like people floating up into the sky. Like there's a marvellous scene in 6 Feet Under, I think. Isn't it? Where
I never saw it.
Where all the dolls start flying up into the sky. There's all these dolls that have been filled up with hydrogen.
I'll check it out.
You've got to see it. It's hysterical. It's so funny.
I have them. It is on my list.
She thinks it's the rapture.
Anyway,
you're totally unflappable, aren't you?
A little.
There is nothing, but nothing that can unnerve you.
You're right. I'm nothing. I'm a little off the wall and irreverent in this episode because it's Christmas and we're celebrating.
We are.
Theologically speaking, is there any reason for eggnog?
I can't stand eggnog, and I don't drink anyway. No, there is no theological reason for eggnog. There are lots of theological reasons for the incarnation, which is not a cream. Carnation cream. Dear.
We lost it.
So, okay. Admittedly so, I'm being a little bit irreverent and cheeky. Like, I've been
That's
drinking the
good.
eggnog because it
That's
is our
good.
Christmas holiday episode. So,
Yes.
the incarnation. Is there anything we didn't cover yet? Because I've got some rapid fire questions for you.
The incarnation is about God's expression, God's being in the human key, the divine life of heaven, the divine life of God is he's interrupted by a barking dog. Shall I go and take him upstairs? Let's pause. Hold him come, offspring of the Virgin's womb. Dum da dum 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 dum. Dum da da dum
Born in
dum bum bum
Bethlehem.
bum.
Is that the same one?
It's
Hark
Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Oh, that's one of the... I've never heard that line of it.
Yes, late in time behold him come, offspring of the Virgin's womb.
And Leighton, that means...
It was like everyone was waiting for God's will to be fulfilled. Everyone was longing for the Messiah to arrive.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess that's as close as we're going to get to an answer of why then, why.
Yes. In
Why
this
at
life
that
we
point?
won't know exactly why. In the next life we will.
Well, our next episode is going to be about Epiphany. But for now, I want to ask you some
Rapid fire question.
rapid fire Christmas questions. First question: what's your favorite Christmas carol?
Hark the Herald Angels Sing is
I do
way
like
up
that one.
there. Way up there. But Adeste Fideles, or O Come All Ye Faithful.
Do you have any Christmas songs that are sung at Christmas that aren't really about Christianity, like Jingle Bells or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Any of those that's your favorite?
Rudolph I like.
You do like Rudolph?
I do like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I got Burl Ives.
Though if I
vinyl,
worked
the
in a
original.
store, I think some of those Christmas songs I'd be ready to kind of slam my fingers in the door. You know.
People had... Well, when I was working at my day job before they fired me, this man, he came in and he said, "Christmas music already?" And I said, "Yes, we're getting through this godforsaken year. You put on a smile and sing it." So that's... it does drive people nuts.
And
but-
you lost your job there?
Yeah. It happens. It happens to the best of us. My favorite Christmas carol is "O Holy Night."
Oh, that is beautiful, that one. That's not so well known in Britain.
Is it not?
No,
But
but
you should look up Josh Groban singing "O Holy Night." It's fantastic.
what are the words? How does it...
Oh, holy night.
Oh, yes. How does it go? Oh, holy night. Shining.
It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
Oh,
Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. Don't make me keep singing. You're just sitting there looking
no, I know.
off in the distance.
Well, it's because you're like Mariah Carey, aren't you, really?
I can't do the whistle note. But my actual favorite secular, non-Christian Christmas song is Darlene Love, "Christmas Baby Please Come Home."
Who's Darlene Love?
She is this old Motown-esque girl. She also sang that song, "Today I Met the Boy I'm Gonna Marry."
Oh,
Do you know that song?
No.
Oh, it's cutesy. But no, it's a beautiful song. "Christmas Baby Please Come Home." It's just about being sad.
oh, she's fantastic.
Oh, she is. She's great. She sings a little gospel too. So.
She's got hair as well.
Okay, so
Big hair.
do you remember the best Christmas present you ever got?
Let me see. I have memories of my first Christmas. I remember Christmas 1969, and I think it's my memories of my childhood Christmases that, because my father was in the Royal Air Force, So we used to move around a great deal, and we'd be away from our family for a long time sometimes. And so at Christmas and Easter, we would rejoin the family back at the family home in Wales. And I remember having long trips overnight in the car with Dad driving and Mum in the front seat and my brother Richard and I in the back of the car, and being a small child, and then at the end of 6 or 7 hours driving, arriving at the family home, and it being dark and cold, but there being such warmth in our family. And
beautiful.
my grandfather was a big part of our childhood, so yeah.
That reminds me of mine too. I remember my grandfather on my mother's side. Everybody, my mom's siblings, everybody, their spouses, they all smoked. They all smoked cigarettes.
Right.
So every year we would go down to my grandfather's house on Christmas Eve, and all the kids would be running around playing Secret Santa and all that. And then the next morning I'd wake up sick as a dog with earaches because I was around all that smoke and I'm not used to it.
Right.
So every morning on Christmas for years I was always sick.
My brother was always sick, but for a completely different reason. In Britain, I don't know if we do it here, we have stockings put out on the bed at
On the
night.
bed? No, the
Yeah.
tradition here, I guess, is just on the mantle or...
Oh, right, on the
you know.
mantle. Well, we put out the empty stocking on the bed at night, and you'd go to sleep and it would be empty. But when you woke up in the morning, magically, it had been filled with chocolates and treats and
That's
sweets
lovely.
and candies and all kinds of beautiful, wonderful, very unhealthy kind of things for kids to eat. And talk about sugar rush. I mean, oh boy. But Richard, my brother, he'd just cram as much chocolate as he could into his mouth. And then, of course, he'd be sick 20 minutes later and bring it all back up again. So
It's only borrowed, huh?
it's borrowed
The
chocolate.
rented chocolate. I'm gonna say that we are getting to the end of our session, but I wanna defer to you because I just think this has been a year where Christmas has always been about hope, and this is a year where we need hope.
We definitely
And
need
so I
hope.
think I'm just gonna give you the airwaves for the last portion of this
Okay.
this episode to give a moment of hope for everyone who listens for this Christmas season.
Christmas by John Betjeman. And is it true? For if it is, no loving fingers tying strings around those tissued fripperies, the sweet and silly Christmas things, bath salts and inexpensive scent, and hideous tie so kindly meant. No love that in a family dwells, no carolling in frosty air, nor all the steeple-shaking bells can with this single truth compare, that God was man in Palestine and lives today in bread and wine.
And with that, we will say we wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And be safe and keep your distance because we are in the middle of COVID-19.
We are.
But try to find merriment.
Stay merry. Stay safe.
Theologically Speaking is a production of Church Nerds Productions. Executive producers for the show are Jeffrey Clark Tosca, Father Ian Elliott Davis, and Kyle Leon Henderson. Associate producer is Ed Tosca. Editors for the show are Kyle Leon Henderson and Jeffrey Clark Tosca. Music for this program is provided by Dr. Jeffrey Perola and the choir at St. Thomas the Apostle Hollywood. We would also like to give a special thanks to Louie for all the loving licks on the knee under the table while we produce this show. Visit St. Thomas the Apostle Hollywood Facebook page for more information on the show, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at St. Thomas Hollywood.